top 10 hero bonuses in State of Decay 2. Hey, what's up guys, Irish Turtle here, and in today's video I wanted to go through the top 10 hero bonuses that I have found sort of while playing State of Decay 2. Now in honesty, this video took quite a while for me to pull together because finding all of the hero bonuses and trying to go through all of them took a lot more time than I'm sort of willing to admit. But basically what I did was I kind of went through and I found, when I launched a game, I looked at a citizen and I looked at what their hero bonus was and what it could potentially offer to the community. And essentially the idea of this video is I want to talk to you guys, or at least show you, the top 10 hero bonuses that I have found while playing State of Decay 2. Now by no means are, these necessarily the best. These are just the 10 that I think are exceptionally useful to any kind of group of players, and these are the type of things that maybe you want to look out for when you're playing the game. Now obviously I do want to point out this list is in alphabetical order, but by no means does that mean this is in ranked order, so they're just alphabetical. It's not necessarily saying the first one is the worst and the last one is the best. I probably will just say which ones I think are better, but generally speaking we're just going to go through and talk about each one and the sort of the benefits to having it. So the first one here we have is Ammo Wish List. Now this one is described as I maintain a list of everyone's weapon of choice and the ammunition they need. Our scavengers come home with more usable ammo that way. And essentially what that means is you get +1 ammo per day once this person gets a hero standing within your community. Now generally speaking this is exceptionally useful to a community, especially if you're looking at trying to build up a watchtower or like a lookout point within your base, as it means that you can actually offset that without actually having to go out and buy an outpost with +1 ammo per day. It means naturally one of your survivals will just give your base extra ammo per day. And normally speaking, a character who has this trait will normally be having sort of backstory or trait related to guns, kind of like, just generally speaking, sort of like rifle collector is a pretty good one to look for if you're looking for that. Of course, they are all randomly spawned in along with these sorts of lists, so there's a percentage chance that with rifle collector you'll have ammo wish list. The next one we have is Careful Demolition. Now this one is a pretty good one for what it offers. The text that goes along with it is I train people in how to take something apart without damaging its component pieces. We end up with extra usable materials that way. Now essentially the way this is sort of envisioned is the idea that hey, you're surviving, you're taking things apart, and because of that the bonus that you get is +1 materials per day. Again, it's a pretty useful skill. It means that your character, has this ability to give your base extra materials. So maybe if you coupled that with a level 2 workshop, you're getting +2 materials a day, and again that's just without having to invest in an outpost, which can cost you influence and a slot that you could be using for say meds or maybe a specific item or anything like that. So I think personally it's another good skill to look out for. The next one I have is Driver Training. Now this one, again, pretty useful. It goes across the entire community, so again this is something definitely worth considering. And here you see it's here, the flavour text for it is, there's a lot about efficient driving that they don't bother to teach us in Driver's Ed. We can stretch our fuel resources a lot further. So basically what this does, it gives all of your community a +25 fuel efficiency on their ability. So whenever someone's driving in a car, that fuel is going to last 25% longer than it would if you didn't have this hero bonus activated. Again, similar skills for this, you're going to be looking for like driving or hearse driver in this case, something to do with cars and potentially, the driver star skill. These are the sorts of things that will pop you that kind of hero bonus appearing and making it one of your community's abilities. Next we have Friendly Reminders. Now this is for those of you guys that maybe are looking to try and build a bigger base and have more ability to build things at once while keeping the number of survivors quite low. So here it says, I hope people don't mind when I point out the jobs they haven't finished yet. I'm just trying to keep this place running smoothly. Now that means it offers the characters +1 labour, and again this kind of comes from the character trait of Observant. It means he looks at things, sees things, so the idea here is he notices the things that haven't done, and it gives your community an extra labour slot that you could use. So for example, you could be running several jobs at once, and because you've got this extra labour slot, it just means you can spend a little bit more time either building things, or if you need something that requires 4 people to build, you've only got 3, you actually have the +1 labour that counts as if you had that 4th person. So again, it's a pretty useful thing to have. Next we have Hygiene Standards. Now this one here, I've sort of seen it a lot whenever I have a character with the thing of never been sick, And essentially its blood plague is a nasty disease, but we can hold it off if everyone washes regularly and keeps their gear clean. That gives you a plus 100 infection resistance. So basically, if you have a character who's never been sick, you'll have probably seen this. When you get hit by a plague zombie, it goes up a tiny amount gets infection of blood plague. With this ability, everyone kind of has that kind of bonus, and people with never been sick have that bonus basically doubled, so it takes them even longer to become infected by a zombie. And again, it's just a really nice hero trait, especially if you find yourself getting your community members with the blood plague quite often. You know, you kind of struggle with that on a regular basis. The next one we have here is medical reference. Now this one here is basically listed as, I kept a bunch of medical reference books on hand and used them to make grocery lists. That means we get more out of what we need each day and less of what we don't. More of what we need each day and less of what we don't. And again, this gives your community a +1 meds per day. So again, it's that ability to have extra meds coming into your base without actually having to go out and get an outpost to bring those materials in. So it's a pretty useful bonus. Generally speaking, I haven't seen any kind of like skills that kind of trigger this on a regular basis. As you can see here, I have foot pain and good arm. They aren't necessarily really anything to do with medical references. This was kind of just a bit of a random one. But, you know, if you've got people with medical skills, you can kind of expect to see this kind of roll in quite often. But again, as always, it's pretty random. Next, we have the hero bonus of nose to tail. Now, this one, again, is for another +1 material. And I insist that we use every part of the buffalo, every part of the vegetable, and every part of the herb. I can find things to eat that you might throw away. So basically the idea here is that your character is suggesting that, hey, if we get food, we use all of the food, not just the bits you think are edible, we can actually use all of it. And again, because of that, it kind of means that your community is having extra food. So the bonus essentially says, hey, because of this, you get +1 food per day, because this guy is suggesting, hey, we can use the food that we don't use, because I know ways to use it. And again, it's a nice little skill. If you're struggling with food, it's something to look at. And if you can try and couple this with someone with fishing in like a really lucky roll, that means essentially once they've got this hero trait, they're actually looking at +3 food per day, which is pretty cool. And again, you can see here, the trait that it's rolled with is slaughterhouse worker. So you can generally see here it's someone who knows how to deal with food. So the idea here is that this is why this trait would roll. The next one we have here is outdoor living. Now this one is a really big favourite of mine, because again it offers that ability to have extra people in your base without taking up as much resources. So similarly to my traits video where I talked about traits that meant people didn't use beds, this one here is basically, I know a lot about living outdoors and I can make people comfortable even if there's not enough room inside. So here it gives you +2 beds to your base. So then again, the bonus here is, say, hey, I have a base of, let's say, you know, 6 people, the base has 6 beds, I don't want to bring in another 2 people, but I don't have the space to build any more beds. With this hero bonus, you actually have those 2 beds just necessarily once this person hits their hero rank, because again, they give you an extra 2 beds. So it's bonus there, and if you want to have extra people in your base, it's useful for maybe if you have somebody who's a really, really good character, but they have the pack rat skill or the hoarder skill, so they take up an extra bed, you can kind of offset that a little bit. So, you know, it's quite useful in those regards. Maybe if you find someone who is a pack rat with their traits, but also has the outdoor living trait as their hero bonus, you might think, hey, well actually this guy offsets his negative once he reaches hero status, and it might be worth keeping him because he's actually quite good. The next one we have is setting the pace. Now because of this one, I preferably like this one personally because again, it just speeds up your looting around the world, it speeds up all the different actions that you do, and it basically here is when I move fast, other people step it up to stay with me. So again, because this person's energetic, because they're fast, other people speed up their actions as well. So again, it's plus 33% global action speed, so everybody in your community will have that 33% global action speed, and they'll all be running at a slightly faster rate. Next we have work schedule. Now this is similar to the one previously that gave you labour. You know, it's similar to friendly reminders, except it's sort of like the better version. And what this is I've got every unfinished job around here marked down and assigned to someone. We've got estimated deadlines, we're running like a machine. So basically the idea here is this person knows how to handle things, knows how to do things, and because of that the character gives a +2 labour stat to your base. So instead of just getting an extra 1 slot, you instead get an extra 2, and then you can have, you know, an extra 2 labour to be using throughout the base. Again, here you can see it's sort of fleet manager, so the idea here is, you know, it's kind of based off the idea of somebody who knows how to manage things on a big level and has that ability to build up schedules. Again, there's no guarantees with Fleet Manager you'll get this skill, but you know, it's kind of like if you have that kind of skill, it's more likely to appear because of that bonus, if that kind of makes sense to you guys. And those are the 10 that I personally think are the best ones. Again, there's no necessary order to these, it was just alphabetical. If I had to pick one out of the lot of them, I think it would be Outdoor Living or maybe Medical Reference, solely because they both give you really, really useful things to your base that, you know, you can sometimes struggle with on a regular basis. You know, the ability to have an extra 2 beds completely free of charge, like really useful, as it saves having to build beds. And having the extra meds, again, it's pretty useful because when you build a medical facility, it takes 2 meds per day, so you kind of have to buy 2 outposts with medical supplies to be able to offset that. But with this kind of community hero, you only need 1 of those bases because the +1 meds per day comes with his ability. So, you know, those are my 2 personal favourites of the lot. Obviously, as a group, they are the best ones that I've found. Now, don't get me wrong, there are loads more hero traits you can get. There is a huge list of the hero bonuses that you can find. If I can find and remember where I found the list of them on Reddit, I will put that in the description below. Obviously, if I don't, I apologise. I will try and add that in as soon as I find it. But other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video on the hero bonuses and sort of my favourite ones. If you did, a like would be really appreciated as it helps the channel out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Apologies for my voice today. I have got a bit of a blocked nose at the minute, so I might sound a little bit off. But other than that, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.